You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Albaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Albaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Albaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite, and it is
Hump Day.
That's right. Made it to the middle of another week from the old world headquarters in downtown Madison, the intersection of State and Fairchild. Mr. Zommers, let's get a look at that beautiful day. For those watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twix, Twitter, Twix, whatever you want to call it, they've I'm not sure what's happening. They've cordoned off the 100 block of State Street. For those watching, you see the barricades there at the intersection right outside the studios. Is tonight like a big Halloween party at Zommers? What's going on?
Is Trigvy there? That's normally when they're parking his limo. They normally...
Yes.
Yeah. That area.
That is the voice of the anchor, the host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9 across the network. He joins us, as he so kindly does, every Wednesday from his beautiful Lake Wissota studios, Pat Kreitlow, and joining us from our nation's capital outside of Washington, D.C., former advisor or former Republican like myself, now senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, Trygve Olsen. Gentlemen, how are you? And Pat, you're right. Normally, Trygve travels in style, so maybe it is.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Must be some other VIP there, I guess. I don't know.
Guys,
some big shots got to get over to Ian's Pizza.
Right?
Stat,
Exactly.
right?
How
Okay.
are y'all? It's Halloween. Growing up in your neck of the woods, you guys, were you big Halloweeners? Is that something that was big in your part of the Halloweeners?
Halloweenies?
Yeah.
I grew up in a very large apartment complex, and so it was the greatest night because you would take your pillowcase and it would just get chock full of candy from these, it was like 500 units, something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a reason I can pick up shortwave radio in this mouth. There's so many fillings in it. So it was worth it though.
Trygve in River Falls, were you big Halloweeners there?
It was River Falls. They just gave out seed
it's
corn
River
there.
Falls, yeah, seed corn, sweet corn, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it was the '70s, right? So people would dress up and
Yeah.
go trick or treating.
Do your girls now, or are they a little too old, or do they still dress up?
They are going to dress up.
Good.
My older daughter is going as Lady Macbeth. I'm not quite sure what that says. And the younger one, I'm not quite sure. I can tell you a really good Halloween story, though.
Give it
that
to
is a very quintessential DC story. So when my daughter, Ula, was in second grade, I think, she comes home one day and she's like, Daddy, I know how much you love taking me trick-or-treating in the neighborhood, but can I go trick-or-treating at the White House with my friend Sajal? And I'm like, you can't really go to the White House. So I don't think the Obamas will ask. I don't think you can do that. And she's like, well, Daddy, Sajal said I could come. Her mom is deputy something or other.
Ooh.
And I had known the woman for a long time. Turns out she was like Obama's deputy chief of staff. So I was like, yeah, you should definitely go trick or treat at the White House.
Yeah.
So
You
she
should take Daddy along.
Right.
Yeah, Daddy didn't get to come along, but yeah, so she got to hang out with Michelle Obama and get M&Ms with the White House
Wow.
seal. And
Wow.
all that stuff. Yeah,
That's
it's
pretty
like
cool.
the quintessential
But it
DC
is a
thing,
quintessential DC. But I actually, it's a great story. Kind of has to pertain where I want to lead off with you guys. You guys both know, but Trygve, you spent more time there than Pat or I. It is a very small town. People know, all this. I mean, everybody kind of knows each other. It's hard to have too big a secret in DC, is it not, Trygve?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It's all connected.
Well, the thing is, though, like at schools and like socially, you don't spend a lot of time asking people what they do
Right.
when you're having kind of those kid connection things. So, we after that we invited them over and we were hanging out and with kids because Ula had wanted to have them over, and then we got talking about what we do, and there's a piece of it. I mean, at the time I was helping run McConnell's political world, right? Like,
Right.
but it just isn't something I wouldn't bring that up when
I wouldn't bring that up either.
meeting.
Exactly
I'm sorry,
right.
that's probably not what you meant. I apologize.
Nah,
No, it's
I
true.
mean, it's just not. Yeah. It
Yeah,
isn't.
people are kind of more around each other, more just people. And that's where I want to start, guys. In northern Wisconsin, which the two of you know very, very well, it's where you've grown up and spent time. A couple of new candidates in the 7th District congressional race up there. Of course, Tom Tiffany has announced he's going to seek the governor's nomination. On the Republican side, it leaves the seat open. And now, courtesy of our own Dan Schaefer, the Civic Media political editor and founder of the Recombobulation Area, a couple of new people. Michael Alfonso, who is Sean Duffy's son-in-law, says he's now in the race, as well as Paul Wasgren, who is an attorney in, I believe, Ashland, Wisconsin, up north. And here's the context, and Pat, then Trigvi. I think a lot of the political class, the pundit class in Madison and Milwaukee would want to say, because you look at their both of the releases of these two guys, it's just a big suck up to Donald Trump. And a lot of people would just say, oh, it's those northern Wisconsin people that are riding around in trucks, are all a bunch of rednecks, and they're sucking up to Trump. We spent time there for our show in Hayward and in Amory and in Wausau and in Park Falls and in Butternut. And I think that the chattering class in Wisconsin better take a look at who these people are and how they relate to the values of northern Wisconsin and be a little nuanced about this. Pat, then Trigby.
Well, I would say when you hear about those two, I'd say don't forget about Fred Clark, the Democrat candidate in there, the Democratic former state assembly rep, who is going to appeal to a lot of people who have traditionally voted Republican and are looking around and going, really? This is what we get? Especially from a guy like a corporate attorney, Paul Wasgren, whose statement reads, and I quote, "I'm running for Congress because we need more successful businessmen like Donald Trump and Ron Johnson to shake up the status quo and revitalize our communities." If that doesn't disqualify you thinking that Ron Johnson and Donald Trump were successful businessmen, I don't know what else would, but good luck to them.
I couldn't agree more. And Trigby in Alfonso, Sean Duffy's son-in-law, he states right out there that he's running to help Donald Trump. And to Pat's point, I know Fred Clark from his days in the legislature. You can't find a more true hunter, conservationist, forester than Fred Clark. And I hope people up there in northern Wisconsin take a look at all these candidates and say, who actually is like me and not trying to suck up to somebody else?
Well, yeah, but the reality of Republican politics is such, the Trump endorsement at least has been, the 30 pieces of silver for people to take. I would remind people, it was during the pandemic that Tom Tiffany ran for the first time in that special election. His first ad was, "I want to go to Washington, D.C. to support Donald Trump and his MAGA agenda." I mean, all these guys, that is what they're going to do. They're going to pander to Trump because, as Pat likes to point out, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, is an endorsement of one. I do think there's some consternation that I've been hearing within certain Republican circles that they need another candidate, and it will be interesting to see how that plays out.
For governor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that too. That's again, these I don't want to put a misinformation out there, but there's some line of thought I've heard rumbling around the halls of the building, i.e. the state capitol, that maybe Robin Vos, who's talked about resigning or not running again next year, that part of his thinking may be looking at the situation in the governor's race and make it in for governor.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, look, most people don't know their legislator. They don't know who Robin Voss is, but I think that he is a classic case of the more people learn about him, the less they like him.
Mhm.
And he has been one of the most polarizing figures for those folks who do, pay attention to Wisconsin politics. And it would not take much to outline all the reasons why, if you're dissatisfied with the direction of this state, of this country, and this economy, because of Donald Trump, Robin Voss is not going to be the thing that cures it.
No, I agree, Trigby, to that.
I mean, I think the other thing about that is I always take it with a grain of salt too, because having lived through, in the late '90s, like you had McCallum and Klug and all these guys, Margaret Farrow, that were thinking about, the post-Tommy era, running for governor and wanting to run for governor. I think just about every state legislator looks in the mirror and sees a governor when reflecting back at
Oh,
them
yes.
in the
Oh,
mirror when they get up in the morning.
100%. I can speak from experience.
But the reality of it, and the hypothetical within the building is not really necessarily aligned with the blocking and tackling that it takes to actually do it.
Correct.
Yes.
Running for governor of Wisconsin is it's a big state. It's a lot of time in cars, and
Let's switch gears just for a second, and we're talking with Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, every morning 6 until 9 on Civic Media's network, and Trygve Olsen, senior advisor of the Lincoln Project. Let's shift over to the Democratic side. And earlier today, Democratic U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, put out a video endorsing Rebecca Cook, one of the Democrats in the 3rd Congressional Democratic primary. Pat, as the Democrat here on the panel, I just think back when, look, I was running a race on the Republican side for John Sharpless in the primary in '98 when my former boss, Scott Klug, decided not to run for the district that includes Madison. Tammy Baldwin was one of at least 5 or 6 people in a Democratic primary. And she, as an openly gay woman representing the Isthmus of Madison, she would not have been the party favorite to win that because it included a lot of rural area. Former State Senator Joe Winnicke would have been. And I just don't understand why Democrats are a year out coordinating people.
I don't know if it's about a coronation in this particular case. There in the 3rd Congressional District is a contingent of Democrats who simply don't believe that, Becca Cook is going to do better than the way that she fell just short last time around. And so that's why they've turned to Emily Berge, the Eau Claire City Council president, and why some of them embraced Laura Benjamin before she got out of the race. And I think this is Tammy Baldwin's way of essentially saying, guys in the 3rd Congressional District, those Democrats, you're going to have to get over this. She has the fundraising. She has plenty of other endorsements. She has the drive. She has the momentum. And anything else that's done at this point is simply going to divide the party and fracture it in a way that makes it less likely to defeat Derek Van Orden. I think she's looking at it from that very narrow insider way of trying to make sure that a primary does not get super divisive. I don't know that it's necessarily going to work because there are people who feel very strongly about, supporting Emily Berge, but I think Senator Baldwin's trying to be the statesperson in this case.
We'll hear from Trygve Olsen on the Republican perspective on these primaries. Should parties be endorsing / coordinating this early? We'll ask him and more with Pat Kreitlow and Trygve Olsen for a Wednesday edition of the Todd Albaugh Show across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
If you want a friend in Washington or Madison, buy a dog.
Amen.
That's what they say. You don't need a dog. Just listen to your friend Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9, Monday through Friday on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app as well. They can't do a little StreamYard difficulties, but Zomer's played this great song called Buy Me a Dog as the intro. Who,
No,
who-
I
If
heard.
you,
They can
if
hear it
you
on the
need
screen
a
now.
oh,
friend-
you heard it now. All right, sorry.
Yes, Aaron fixes everything.
He
He's
does.
super
He's the
producer for a
best.
reason.
He's absolutely the best.
That could be Pat's new marketing ploy. If you need a friend, listen to Up North News.
I like that actually. I'm here
Who's
all
your
week.
buddy, your pal? Yes, exactly.
He likes treats over at the Mallard. Just give him a liquid treat and he's good to go. He joins us every Wednesday from his beautiful Lake Wissota studios, Mr. Pat Kreitlow, and from the Tony suburbs of Washington, D.C., Trygve Olson joins us, former Republican like myself, and now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Guys, before the break, talk a little bit about U.S. Senator Democrat Tammy Baldwin doing a video endorsing Rebecca Cook, one of the two Democratic candidates for the 3rd Congressional District against Republican Derek Van Orden. And Trygve, your thoughts on if this is a healthy way for either party, but in this case, Democrats to go. Basically, you're saying this is our person a year before the election and kind of, in my opinion, as someone who lost a couple of primaries for an assembly seat, stiffing the other candidate.
You know, Todd, I got a phone call about this from a mentor of yours and mine.
Oh, yeah.
I was being lobbied about what I should say. It's really hard for me because I have two hats that I've worn in my life. There's the hat of the activist who can't stand when the national party or national figures get in the middle of primary races, because I do think that the local people should get to decide who's the candidate. But there's also the hat that I've worn professionally, where I've had to kind of make resource decisions about House races. And you have to remember there's 435 of them. The Democrats are probably looking at about 50, given where Trump's numbers are. And, primaries, when you have that hat on, you think in terms of resources. And so I understand why they want to clear the field and make it have a long period to adjudicate Derek Van Oddwan's service as the representative of the MAGA wing of the 3rd Congressional District versus all the people. But I also get where the activists in the district who support the other candidate are not very happy about it.
The other thing to keep in mind, though, is, again, they're all adults here. And Congressman Mark Pocan did not hesitate to endorse former state representative Katrina Shanklin last time around. Right. Katrina Shanklin fell short in the primary to Rebecca Cook. And Mark Pocan did not, take his ball and go home. He was very active. And again, I'm sure it was more active about getting rid of Derek Van Orden, but he played nice, and that's exactly what Tammy Baldwin will do no matter who wins this primary. So I understand the whole thing about, coronating or anointing somebody, and it's in a primary, it's easy to get, your feelings hurt. But at some point, you have to look at the strategic reasons why people do some of these things. And then after the primary, you just have to keep your eyes on the prize.
Pat, before we let you go at the bottom of the hour, we talked about this a bit last Wednesday. Department of Public Instruction Superintendent Jill Underly has come under fire from liberal leading newspaper here in Madison, the Cap Times, did a story on how that department has handled allegations of grooming and sexual assault and abuse. But now, in my opinion, the story has grown well beyond what the Cap Times reported, because last Thursday, Dr. Jill Underly blew off a assembly committee hearing in which they wanted to ask her questions about this so she could attend her alma mater at the Indiana University to receive a Distinguished Alumnus Award. Pat, not a good look in my opinion. Agree or disagree?
That's not a great look, but I think it distracts from the real issue here of, the things that may have been done by these teachers to children and what the department has got to do. And I would turn this into shameless self-promotion by urging everybody to go back and listen at 7:30 this morning. We talked to State Representative Angelina Cruz, a Democrat from Racine, who is on the Assembly Education Committee, and who had a Facebook post about this, eviscerating the Republicans who are suddenly concerned and parachuting in, some of the same people who are voting no on releasing the Epstein files, and now suddenly wanting to make hay at Jill Underly's expense. And Jill Underly was wrong not to talk to the reporter, and arguably wrong about not showing up for a committee hearing that threatened to become even more of a sideshow than it already was. But Representative Cruz is right to say whatever your feelings on Dr. Underly, let's get to the issue of how you make sure the Department of Public Instruction moves forward so that you do not have situations like this in the future.
I don't disagree with you, Pat, but again, I've been shocked at the amount of, instead of the Democrats doing similar to what you did and calling what Underly has done out and say, look, this isn't right, she needs to do this, all they're doing is defending her and trying to say is misdirecting and how terrible Republicans are. Well, last time I checked, you don't get to choose when you testify before an Assembly or Senate committee hearing.
I disagree with that. I'll disagree with that because it is quite possible, and I'm not claiming this, but that you know how short notice these committee meetings are set up.
It was
sometimes.
5 days.
And I would not be the least bit surprised if they already knew what Dr. Underly's travel schedule was. And
come on, Pat, how many times did your staff, my former boss missed anniversaries with his wife, kids' birthday parties because he had to go do his job. When you're a state legislator, when you're an elected official, it doesn't matter. If that's when the thing is, you show up.
It was before you got some of the most recklessly unprofessional management of a legislature that I've ever seen anywhere in this bunch. And they're not doing those kids any favors. Reschedule if you have to and keep at this till we get it done right. But stop trying to turn it into political gamesmanship. Well,
we'll ask Trigby on the other side about this. I think that Jill Underly is a big loser, but as far as politically speaking, but Pat Kreitlow is a big winner, and you can see his big winning show every morning from 6 until 9. Thank you, Patrick. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Come on back. Trigby and I discuss this more on the other side, a little Trumpster as well. It's the All Ball Show for Wednesday on the Civic Media Radio Network. Farm News is next with Pam Young. Welcome back to the Town Hall Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 35 minutes now past the hour of 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. Glad to have you along. Many thanks to Pat Kreitlow for making time for us each and every Wednesday. A little spicy, Trigby, today. A little I like that. It's fun.
You got Pat fired up.
Trigby Olson, senior advisor of the Lincoln Project, a former Republican like myself, joins us from the outskirts of Washington, D.C. I just want to put a pin on this, Trigby. Again, this whole issue, the story of the Capital Times a week ago, Friday, and it had some very serious concerns about how the Department of Public Instruction handles allegations of grooming and sexual misconduct over 200 cases, which we should remind people represents 0.003% of the overall teaching population, educational population in the state. Very, very small percent. But I think that for those alleged victims, that's certainly serious, right? I just simply think that the story, and I think Pat was more or less in agreement with me, but you keep me honest. I think the story has gotten so much bigger in a negative way for Underly and all the great folks that are doing a good job at Department of Public Instruction because she wasn't transparent. And whatever you think about Chris Matthews, not you, Trigby, but the general you, I like his writing. And I think it was in his book, Now Here's What I Really Think. He tells, or maybe it was in the Hardball itself, kind of the rules of politics. And as somebody who's worked in D.C., Trigby, you know this better than anybody else, one of the rules of politics is if you have a problem, hang a lantern on it. Don't wait for it to come to you. And I think that Underly has hurt herself, her department, and her profession by not being more transparent.
Yeah, and to a degree, it isn't a good look for the party either. I think, an old adage in politics is if you're explaining, you're losing, right? Mm. But she's not just explaining; she seems to be avoiding, and if you're avoiding, you're getting clobbered,
right?
And on an issue like this, she needs to. I just think she needs to be aggressive. I'm not sure she's being staffed right.
That's what I think.
Like, they need to find a friendly reporter that she can go to and sit down and lay out the entire reality of it. And then in that story, make sure that they're getting across the points that they want to make and talk about, and then stay on that message, whether it's in front of legislative committee hearings, But the more you look like you're coming up with excuses not to talk about it, and she's no longer in a position where she's going to get the benefit of the doubt because it keeps happening over and over again.
Agreed. Jim in Appleton listening on WISS, one of our great station there in Oshkosh. We have the call a transponder in Appleton, so you can listen to it as there. Says, come on, Todd. Spread some of the victory all around. How about Howard Markline, state senator, holding back funding to investigate these allegations? Give Underly a rest. You've been on her for over a week. Thanks, Jim. Always appreciate listenership and the opinion here. Yeah, I mean, but I think that's what interests me is the fact that I spend, I don't know, Zommers can keep me honest. I probably spend 90% of this show calling out our former party, Trigby, Republicans, on things I don't think, including, nobody's been tougher on Howard Markline on this network than me. And particularly when it comes to lack of funding for higher education and public education. Yeah, absolutely. But I think to have any sort of trust with our listenership, I also have to apply that same lens to the Democratic side. And I would feel, I mean, how many, when Republicans refuse to go before the bipartisan January 6th committee, well, what are they afraid of? Why aren't they sitting there? When I join Democrats in saying Republicans release the Epstein file, you have to apply that same lens to Democrats, or I think you lose trust in people.
Well, yeah, and in addition to that, there's something liberating, which, the first time, but way back when you started this show, you asked me to come on, and I said, you're like, would you come on again? And I'm like, I'll come on whenever you want. You're like, how about every Wednesday? Part of what I loved about it is, it's the opportunity which is rare when you're on one of the two political teams and you're entrapped in our politics the way it is. You have to defend your side, even if you're saying, what about? What's liberating about this show is we can just call them as we see them. And,
Chris and Madison,
you can agree or disagree. We don't care.
Chris and Madison, WMDX, don't agree. Underly was set up like Pat suggested. Agree with the caller. Drop it already. It says Chris and
Madison. Is that Chris with a K or a CH?
No, CH. Elderly, she was not set up. I mean, that's just,
wasn't it the Cap Times?
Yes, the Cap Times, the most liberal newspaper in Wisconsin, is the one that broke this story. Zommers?
Also, the article did not just sit there and attack Underly and everybody. It did explain, okay, there are reasons for these problems. It said there is 1.5 full-time people, so one full-time,
right,
1 half-time, to investigate all of these cases. That is entirely inadequate. And a bunch of other reasons. They talked about, there are a lot of problems. So why won't they talk about them?
Agreed.
Why wouldn't she go on the attack and put it back on the legislature?
Exactly. Why do you call these people out?
But here's the thing. I mean, honestly, since we have no F's to give and can say what we want, I'm just going to be honest here. The truth of the matter is, you become Secretary of the Department of Public Instruction not because you're a world-class politician, right? We're not talking about top-level political skill sets here. Bert Norquist.
Grover Norquist.
Grover. Bert Grover, notwithstanding. But
I forgot about him.
But exactly. See, my case in point.
Right.
But she's not being served well by who's ever advising her. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with her. And, if 1.5 people, she should be putting the state legislature has partial responsibility for this. The governors, plural, passed. Like, there's a lot of people, but she's taking the entire brunt of it in part because she is not doing a very good job politically of handling
This is why I burned all my bridges politically, Trigby, because I can't go back to our former party. And that's the funny thing. When I was the whistleblower, so to speak, and came out and talked about closed caucuses and how Republicans were suppressing voting, oh my gosh, Democrats and liberals and progressives loved me. Oh, they wanted to hail me. And then when I point out things on the Democratic side, when I tried to get a job helping a Democrat get elected to the assembly, they didn't want anything to do with me because I had betrayed my former party, and why would I not do it to them? They were suspicious of me. Yeah. And I said, I don't know, because I've always been told Democrats don't lie. They didn't like that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well,
that's fine.
mean, that's the problem with being in the middle between the
like
two extremes.
I'm like dial this up, Zombers. I'm like the dead skunk in the middle of the road, stinking to high heaven. I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm in the middle of the road. Kurt in Madison on WMDX. Thanks for holding, Kurt. What do you want to say about this?
Yeah, I have to challenge Pat on this. You know, we're adults, we're professionals. We can chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. Doesn't take a lot of skill sets. The failures that you have pointed out of her has now taken whatever career she has, and she's literally trashed it and thrown it down the toilet. Because anyone that would look at a person who is in a position that she's in with a very sensitive topic that any parent would immediately become alarmed with, demonstrates she doesn't care whether she's innocent or not. And I don't think this has to do with anything with politics. This is about the integrity of the individual.
Exactly.
And if she would have taken it on by the horns head on and sat down saying, listen, I'm here to answer any questions. I want to clear up the confusion. But she didn't do that. To hell with Indiana. That's just a weaseling way out. It's like, yeah, whatever. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, she deserves the heat she's getting.
Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate your opinion. Appreciate
100%.
your listenership. Look, our former colleague, our friend Kristen Bry, who writes for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, has a great opinion piece on this. I encourage everybody to go to the Journal-Sentinel online. Google up Kristen Bry. She wrote a great piece on this. And Kristen is no right winger. I mean, she is a Dem, and she is getting eviscerated right now by liberals and Democrats because. And in her op-ed, she literally says, this shouldn't be political. We need to find solutions. And it isn't going after Underly personally at all. And liberals are losing their mind over this. It's tribalism, Trygve, in my opinion.
It's political extremism, right? Like
Yeah.
I say this all the time. Political extremism has 4 pieces: psychological distress, acceptance of simplistic answers, overconfidence in the rightness of those simplistic answers, and then ultimately intolerance for anybody who doesn't share them. And if you're at that point, it's my team always right, other team always wrong. And the truth of the matter is, if you're in politics where we were, and this is a case, like there's lots of things that are gray areas, but in this case, when it comes to the actual issue, it isn't even gray. It's pretty binary, and she's just botching it. And I don't know what kinds of, I guess you can be state superintendent of public instruction and run for governor. Tony Evers proved that. Yes. I don't know if that's what she maybe looks at herself in the mirror, but like she's ended any potential of her ever running for governor. So at this point, just start doing the right thing. And the crazy part is this was an opportunity for her to have a Sister Soljan moment.
Yeah. I don't know. Chris in Madison says, Todd, get a grip on WMDX. Brett in Kewanee says, WISS, sounds like your feelings are hurt. Nothing new has been said on today's show yet.
You know what? Here's the thing. If he really wants to make our day, he'll invite us up to Kewanee to go to a fish boil sometime.
Right? Kewanee has great fish boils.
We could do the show live from a fish boil in Kewanee. My neighbor's throwing up. The Lipskis,
yes,
aka the Lipsticks, they wonderful people,
right.
Wonderful people. They were from Kewanee, and we used to go over there and we'd camp at Potawatomi State Park, and we'd always go to the fish boil in Kewanee.
That's the thing. You can disagree on subjects or whatever and still enjoy a fish boil together or a fish fry, whichever it might be.
Well, I bet we wouldn't actually disagree with them that much.
Probably not. No, they're just a little salty, but that's okay. A lot of people are salty. Trygve Olson, senior advisor, Lincoln Project, joining us as he does every Wednesday. Speaking of political extremism, we'll move to Donald Trump, who has said that repeatedly he wants a third term, although the Constitution says he can't. Has Trump 2028 hats in the White House, in the Oval Office, although the Constitution says he can't. Probably got to come back on the cut, right, Zombers? Well, we have a cut. Donald Trump on Air Force One. He's traveling around the world, and something's happened, Trigby. I'm not sure what it is, but he's suddenly changing his tune on a third term. Is it for real?
48 hours later.
48 hours later. Is it real? Or is he just kind of baiting us and making us feel better?
It's Memorex, Todd.
Memorex. There's an old throwback to the past. All right, Zombers, dial up a little Def Leppard to take us to break. Come on back. More with Trigby. And how about the love? Love solves everything. Special for Aaron Rodgers. Come on back to the Almost
All
Show
we
on
need
Civic
is
Media.
love, baby.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Welcome back to the Civic Media Radio Network. 8 minutes before the hour of 3 o'clock. No good time to cut into Don McLean on American Pie.
That's why you didn't want it to be played. At least the music didn't die that time.
No, it worked, right? You could hear it. That's fantastic. Trigby Olson, Senior Advisor of the Lincoln Project, joins us every Wednesday. Glad to have him along.
But no Terry Barr.
She's busy. She's a busy person. I know how much you love to have her. We love having her
but
on.
doesn't she do the intro?
She's not live. It's pre-recorded.
Oh, really?
Does she think? You think it's like old-time radio where Terry just comes in every day?
No, I knew Terry wasn't coming in every day for your show.
All right. A lot of people are afraid.
I couldn't be that lucky when I'm in the studio.
I know. We're going to get you guys together, though. A lot of people are afraid that the American dream is dying, Trigby, when it comes to democracy.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, 2028 Trump hats in the Oval Office. He speaks about it all the time. But yesterday, on a flight in his Asian tour around the Asian countries, he had to qualify. After I said that, I'm like, oh geez, you know, what else do you call it? It's an Asian tour around the Asian country. I don't know. Anyway, here's Trump. Play the cut, Zombers.
Johnson says you're trolling when you talk about a third term. Are you trolling or are you serious?
I don't think he said that. I don't think he'd use that term, but it's a very interesting thing. I have the best numbers for any president in many years, any president. And I would say that if you read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad. I've been stupid.
Donald Trump aboard Air Force
best
One.
Numbers.
The best numbers.
They're not even as good as Joe Biden's were at this point. He's got 37% approval. What is he talking about? Hey, Terry!
Terry is now tuning in, so Trigby is happy. Terry Barr, the one and only co-host of Max Inc. Radio every Saturday night at 6 o'clock on WMDX. You can hear her on the app as well, and she's she's so kind enough. She doesn't need this gig, but she's so kind enough that she allows herself to be used as not used, but I mean she's kind enough to be our announcer for this show. So.
You know what? She does have the greatest poll numbers, whereas Donald Trump's poll numbers are terrible.
They're
terrible, not right? Good. Like, what is he talking about?
I don't know. What do you attribute to this change, Trey? You're somebody who's fought authoritarianism in Eastern Europe. I mean, is he just trying to misdirect? Are they because Steve Bannon was on 48 hours ago saying that Trump was gonna get a third term, so get used to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have no idea.
You have no idea. Well, that's helpful. Thank you for your analysis.
Here's the thing. I will say this. This is the thing that's hilarious about that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a piece of me that's like, okay, sure, Donald, run for a third term and let Obama, you can get what you want. Run against Obama and see what happens. But of course, they would not want Obama running because nothing would be worse for Donald Trump than losing to Barack Obama. Right. And I think Obama doesn't even want to run because, like, he actually took an oath to uphold the Constitution. But that notwithstanding, I mean, here's the thing. It does get interesting because there are a lot of people, Ted Cruz, J.D. Vance, there's a lot of people who, when they're looking in the mirror, see a future president reflecting back at them.
Right.
And of course, they are all walking a delicate dance because if Donald Trump does not run for a third term, the most valuable thing that you could get would be Donald Trump's support. And there's a piece of me that thinks that these guys are all playing just a fool's game anyway, because in truth, Donald will probably want Eric Trump or Don Jr.
Right.
or Ivanka or one of those people because, well, that's just the world we're living in today.
That's the world we're living in today. Not a lot of time left. Charles Franklin, the great Charles Franklin, who runs the Marquette Law School poll, came out with a new poll today, finds a large majority of Wisconsin voters not yet tuned in to who is running in major 2026 elections. No candidate has established strong position in public favorability in either the governor, the state Supreme Court races, or large majorities of voters are simply undecided. So, surprise, surprise, Trigby, nobody is paying attention.
That's good. That's good. They got
How
other
so?
things to do. Their kids have hockey games. Their kids have wrestling matches. They have school. Politics is not supposed to be all-consuming entertainment.
Right.
NFL football is supposed to be all-consuming entertainment. And to that end, how
us.
about Jordan Love?
All you need is love.
Ensuring that Aaron Rodgers, unlike Tom Brady, will not have defeated every NFL team during the course of his
How about
career.
that? But
Thank you.
But I'm not sure if you heard out
Jordan
in D.C., our great sports reporter Mike Clemens actually got an interview with Aaron Rodgers, and he was extraordinarily complimentary about the fans and the city and the organization of Green Bay and the Green Bay Packers. I will give him that he was a class act this last week.
Well, I can tell you that if I went and sat in a tent in the dark for a week, high on ayahuasca or not, I probably would be thinking about how great Green Bay and Wisconsin is myself.
See, I gave him a chance
most of the time.
I gave you the chance to take the high road.
I think I.
But no.
And I didn't take it.
I'm not sure there's a full moon. It says there's a full moon a week away, but people are just something's going on right now.
Halloween, baby.
Quickly, Dick and Madison on MDX. Quickly, Dick, 30 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Have you guys been watching him lately? I'm talking
Trump?
about Trump.
Yeah.
Did you see him in that receiving line with the president of Japan? He's bouncing around in that room like a pinball. It takes him a half an hour to come down the steps of Air Force One. My point is, I hate to be mean, but no.
He's looking a little bit like he's looking a little like Joe Biden looked. His gait is not very long. Did you know that did you see the thing on 60 Minutes with the doctor of the billionaires who helps him extend life? And he said basically 75 years old is the point.
Everybody
should watch that.
We got to make hay while the sun shines, Trigby. Trigby Olson, every Wednesday. We appreciate my friend. Find him on Substack, by the way.
I got a banger. I got a banger coming out today. I'm about to hit send.
All right, Substack on Trigby. Come on back. Hour 2, what's worse and more on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.